else's eyes, strip you of your ties. Say goodbye, goodbye. You've been hypnotized. Someone else's eyes, strip you of your ties. Say goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I don't wanna.
Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest joins me from New York City. He's an incredibly talented singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer who has a new song, Hypno, out right now that you gotta go check out. Before we get the episode started, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And don't forget to give me a follow at Parker Whirling and at onthatnote_podcast. And on that note, please welcome Liam Benzvi. I'm sitting here with Liam Benzvi, an indie pop singer-songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist based out of New York City. Your new song, Hypno, is out right now, came out August 13th, and it's such a cool poppy song with some shoegaze undertones, so it really a tune after my heart. I love that kind of stuff. And I love to usually start off by asking about the writing and recording process behind your newest song, and if it was anything different compared to your previous releases like Amnesia USA.
Yeah, it was very different. With Amnesia USA, I did that all by myself, basically. And this whole endeavor, this song is going to be a part of an album that will be announced in the coming months.
Awesome. Love to hear that.
Yeah. And this song is actually the only song that really sounds like this on the record, but the production quality is equal to the rest of the songs. And I was working with my friend Joe, who is in the band Wet, and he produced it with me. He produced the whole record with me. And then my friend Andrew Maury, who I've worked with before, sent me a bunch of guitar stems, which were these shoegazy kind of stems that, shoegaze is also music after my heart. So I was really excited to kind of lay some stuff down on top of that. And then I kind of just spliced everything and created my own melody with it and added some of my own guitar tones. And then, Hypno was born.
So cool. How was the difference between working pretty much alone on your EP Amnesia USA and then, having more of a collaborative process?
It's actually been really great because I go less crazy. I'm not as neurotic because I have this sounding board, which I've had in the past with previous musical projects that I've been a part of, but I hadn't as a solo artist yet. So I was able to have that objectivity in the room that would help me make a better song, ultimately.
Yeah, it's great to have people to bounce ideas off of. And, if you're the only one hearing it, you can have some blinders on subconsciously to things that other people might hear immediately and be like, oh, maybe you should try this, or maybe you don't need that. And suddenly you're like, oh, duh, like, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's so helpful on so many levels.
Do you have any, like, a checklist almost for people you want to work with, like traits that you want to see in somebody who is going to be a collaborative partner?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, specific traits, I'm not really sure, but I do love working with other singers mostly. Just I've usually just but because I'm not a musician with a vast musical vocabulary, I've often had a lot of insecurities about jamming or working with other musicians because I don't speak instrumentalist language because I didn't go to school for it and I didn't really practice it. I was very self-taught. So I use a lot of gestures and onomatopoeia when I'm talking to band guys. But when I'm talking to singers, it's a lot easier to kind of find a middle ground because I've was a singer before I was a writer, and then I did both, and then now here I am. But I did a duet with my friend Melody, and we put out a song, and that was such a blast, and I just want to write for other singers too, and that's exciting to me. And uh, yeah, I don't know, specific people. Like I don't want to put something too grand into the universe yet because I don't want to jinx it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting what you said about feeling maybe a little self-conscious about working with not singers, because for people who maybe have gone to school for music, they have a deeper understanding on the theoretical level of what should work and maybe what shouldn't work. And I'm sort of the same way, where I was also more self-taught, or I would play with other people and they weren't exactly like, they didn't go to school for music, but they did know a little bit more than I did. And I always kind of grew up with more of like this feeling of wanting other people to do stuff for me that I didn't think I could do. And that is an interesting thing to shake, like as you get older and as you start to produce and do your own projects and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. Did you have any sort of similar journey of like, I guess, self-realization in the things you can do?
Definitely. It just takes time. I feel like I projected this kind of resistance onto these band band boys or band people, mostly band boys, I guess, that I've had to deal with. That I mean, I would just tell myself like, "Oh, they hate me. I'm not speaking directly to them. I'm not telling them what gear I'm using." But oftentimes, I was pleasantly surprised by them telling me that it was all fine, and that realization helped me realize my own self-worth, especially in a rehearsal room, and certainly when I'm recording, because I'm at my most confident when I'm demoing in my bedroom and feeling my own song,
Mm,
basically. And then you get really excited about it, you get really jazzed, and you want to send it to your friends immediately.
yeah. What does that process look like for you when you're demoing out a song and all of a sudden you feel really good about it? Like, what's that realization or that moment where you're like, ah, okay, this is the next big thing?
I usually kill it by listening to it over and over again until I
Okay,
hate
yeah.
it. But uh yeah, I feel like I usually in those moments will let a demo, an exciting thing that's making me very happy, I'll let it sit for like a week, and then I'll decide to send it. And I'll usually send it in this kind of meek way, like maybe you'll like it, but even though I love it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm a totally different artist than I was 5 years ago. I feel like my musical identity is far eclipsing other aspects of my identity than I felt uh, earlier in my life, for sure.
Interesting. What do you mean by eclipsing?
Oh, just like I uh I don't know, like I used to kind of, because I was self-conscious, I would kind of make it more of like a hobby, like it's my artistic hobby, and now I feel like it is an all-consuming identity, and
Oh,
it
okay.
makes me feel way more confident, and I'm an artist.
Yeah. It's powerful to believe that in yourself, instead of feeling like, oh yeah, this is something I do because I like it, but I don't really put that much attention onto it. But maybe, for me, something like that similar feeling probably stemmed from feeling like I wasn't good enough. And
Sure.
eventually, I don't know what clicks. Like, was there a moment that clicked for you where you were like, okay, this is what I am, and I'm embracing it?
It always clicks for me when I'm on stage. I feel like that's when I'm at my most confident and most magnetic.
You're
And
right. You're right. It is not something you click once and you're all of a sudden like, oh yeah, I am this, embracing it all the time, and I
no,
always
yeah,
feel good. You do have those peaks and troughs of like, oh, I suck again.
right. Yeah, I mean, it has to happen like a routine amount of times in order for you to kind of bring that energy into a more private setting or into a studio.
Right. Especially when you're like around people you don't really know and you have to access that very vulnerable side of yourself.
Yeah.
So I do have to ask about your show with Porches at Baby's All Right in New York, because Porches is one of my favorite bands, hands down. So when I saw that, I'm like, that is so sick. How was that
Yeah.
experience? How did you guys get connected?
Well, I've known Aaron for a few years now, and we had been talking about playing a show for a while, and I'm also friends with some people in his band, so it was kind of very much a friend show.
Very
And
cool.
um it ended up being really surreal and crazy, especially with COVID stuff. I mean, some people wore masks, some people weren't. I tried to wear a mask when I wasn't on stage, but it was just this kind of funny. And Aaron was wearing a mask when he wasn't on stage, and it was just so funny, like how packed it was and how it was like far over capacity. Like I joke with I had a bunch of friends that were like, I wanted to come, but I got a little scared because of COVID, and
Yeah.
um I joke like, yeah, it was a super spreader event, like for sure. But but
Was
aside
there
from
like a
that,
vaccination requirement?
yeah, I mean, you had to do all of that. I think it was just like the sheer number of people there was like very surreal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just and it was very certainly surreal for me because I hadn't performed in a year and a half, and
That was your first one.
to have my first show be in front of this massive crowd, it was a lot of fun. And I also have a new incarnation of my band,
Okay.
so it was the first time that I was leading a band with four people behind me.
As opposed
So
to what was it before?
I had been playing with a drum machine and a guitarist and a bassist, and
Gotcha.
this time around I had synth, drums, guitar, bass,
Okay. Very
and
cool.
then I was singing and I was playing guitar.
Was that harder to or easier to like direct and figure out?
Um, well, yeah, like I mean, this full circle moment where suddenly I'm a band leader and I have
Mm-hmm.
to have all of this confidence. And my drummer Liv, who she's drummed before, and she hadn't been drumming in a while. She's kind of a taskmaster, and she had the sticks, so she could easily just be like 1, 2, 3, 4 even when I'm not ready to start a song, but just to like get everybody in line. So the
Yeah.
rehearsals were really productive in that way. Everyone's energy was very complimentary of each other's. And yeah, the show was great and Porches was great. Yeah, it
His
was
new
lots of
three
fun.
songs are sick.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
really cool.
I can't remember the name of like literally the newest one. It was after OK, but it came out like
Lately,
lately. Yeah, it
yeah,
came out a few days ago. That song is sick. He's on a new wave. I feel like
he's in
with
his
these new
grunge
tunes.
phase.
Yeah, yeah. I saw him playing at on live on like Lollapalooza or something, and he literally, well, I guess they covered Heart Shaped Box, I think.
Oh, they did.
I think it's some Nirvana song. I'm like, he literally like
That's
looks
so on the
like
nose.
Kurt Cobain right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sick that you
That's so
guys
funny.
are friends. How did you meet him?
We just both live in New York and had a lot of mutual friends and
Gotcha.
hang out in kind of the same area. It just kind of happens when you stick around in one area for
Yeah,
long
that makes
enough.
sense. What's the community like where you are?
um, I mean, I went to college in Minneapolis, so I compare, and I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, and then I went to college in Minneapolis. I started a band in Minneapolis, and then I came back to New York to keep doing music. And my frame of reference is a community like Minneapolis, which is very insular, supportive, uh, but like you can make it in Minneapolis and be a successful artist and not really make it anywhere else and
Yeah.
still be fine enough to like honestly like have a family, have a house, even if you're playing these like big local shows. Whereas in New York, it's a little scarier because it feels a little bit more global. It feels a little bit more, the stakes are a little higher. Um, and because of that vastness or that those visions of grandeur that you can have and attribute to your own artistry, it um, it feels a little bit more like small small fish. Everyone's a small fish. So um all you can really do is just kind of count on your friends and like be lucky you have your pals, and I don't know. It's kind of like that. It's like there's just like lots of little different communities, and everyone's friendly, and then it's just kind of like I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it can be pretty intimidating being in, such a huge place full of people that all are really good and want to do the same thing. But on the other hand, I bet that really brings something out of you, like, brings a fighter out of you that wants to really make it happen and challenges yourself. And, being around people who are also really good makes you want to be better. So I'm
Yeah,
sure that
definitely.
there's something really, really good about that compared to being in, not hating on Minneapolis, like, but
No,
just
I
a
love it. No,
smaller,
like let me
yeah.
be clear. Like Minneapolis, very rich music scene. I love it there. Period.
Yeah, I do need to go. And I think I've interviewed a couple artists from there, and it seems like a really interesting place that I never would have thought of having, a rich music scene.
Yeah. And you're in Atlanta.
I am in Atlanta. Yeah. So,
And Atlanta has a rich legacy of music.
yeah, certainly hip
One
hop,
of the best.
which is funny because this is not even close to what I do. But I'm still looking
Oh yeah,
around for,
Outcast.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
Outkast.
you have like REM and the B-52s and Deer
Yeah, that's
Hunter.
technically Athens, but yes.
Oh,
And
true.
Deer Hunter is one of my favorite bands ever. So that is
By far.
one
I
of
mean, yeah,
my,
Bradford Cox is a huge influence on me and
really.
the things that I've done. Just like him as a performer, and um his audacity in general. When I was a waiter like a million years ago, I served him, and he was the most like talkative, annoying person, but it just like made it so much. My like vision of him as a kind of this rock icon in my view it just made it so much more clear that I was like, yeah, of course, like you're an eccentric, you're so annoying, but you're amazing.
I can absolutely see that. I wouldn't have thought about it that way, but now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, I do see it. But I've seen like some
Yeah.
of his interviews. They did like a Pitchfork
Hmm.
behind the scenes when they were doing what was the album? It wasn't it wasn't Halcyon Digest, but the one before it, I think.
uh
The
Microcastle or
yeah, it might have been
Weird
Microcast.
Era. Yeah, one of those.
That Halcyon Digest album has literally been the only CD I've listened to in my car for like 3 years.
It's a perfect record. It's so
I
good.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I don't meet a lot of people who love Deer Hunter the way I do, so I'm kind of geeking out that we can talk about them.
Oh, totally.
But
Anytime.
I do want to shift over to
Yeah.
your music videos
Yeah.
because I watched them and they're awesome. The new one, Hypno, is crazy. I don't know what you're doing with the makeup, but it looked so fun. What was your process, and how was it doing this new video with Hypno?
um I always want to do weird things in music videos. I don't know. I don't know why. It's so much more fun that way. And I knew I wanted to do something with prosthetics. So I just had this the whole video is based on this live video of this Japanese artist, or British Japanese artist named Poison Girlfriend, who I highly recommend you listen to. She's amazing.
Okay, I'll check her out.
From the 90s. Um, so she's this Japanese British artist named Poison Girlfriend. She did this kind of variety show, kind of Jules Holland-esque show, where they announce her, and then she's just doing this track alone on stage, with this acoustic guitar. And I was like, that is iconic. I want to do that. But I want it to be weird. So I had this idea that I would transform into this lizard, and it would be and it would be like horrifying, in the middle of this kind of wholesome acoustic guitar moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, my friend Anya, who did the prosthetics, we had to do it in stages because I would be peeling my skin off
Right.
and then reveal the whole thing at the end. So that was how that happened. And I think the whole song, like the theme, the way I chose to justify doing that video with Hypno was that thematically the lyrics of Hypno are just all about uh, fantasy and just a fantasy of dissociation, basically, and
Mm.
dissociating. So if I could physically leave my body and become something else and shed skin, then
Ah, I see.
there we have it. So
That's so
um
cool.
uh yeah, that's where that came from.
I definitely was shocked when like 45 seconds in, you just like rip off part of your face. I was like, oh shit, what the hell's going on? It was, and like
Nice.
you were so free with your body. That was really cool to see as well. Like
Yeah.
that's a thing that for me, I've always wanted to do kind of a video like that. Like I think about um, Tom York and the Radiohead music video for what is it called? Oh my God, Lotus Flower. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I've
yes.
I've always wanted to do something like that where you're just like so free in your body and just dancing or doing whatever and not being self-conscious about what you look like.
hmm It
And
certainly helps when you have makeup on. Or
yeah, I'm sure it does. You feel like
yeah,
literally a different person.
totally.
So I also love the video for Opal. That actually might be my favorite just because it's
Oh,
such
I'm so
a
glad.
journey. Yeah, but that must have
I
been pretty
directed that
hard.
one.
Wow, yeah, that's right. How was that experience directing it?
Um,
Was it your first video you've directed?
yes, it was so fun to do. And I knew I wanted to not have to edit it, so I
That's
was like, let's
funny.
just make it one shot. So it worked out so well. I used to do theater, so I was very much like into this idea of the actor's nightmare of kind of showing up late, not knowing your lines, kind of this whole thing. So I just cast my friends in this, and then the stage manager, older woman in that video, is my aunt,
Oh, cool.
and so she was game. It was like a very family affair, which was amazing, and I yeah, like with the director, this guy Nathan, do you know the band Hate Rock?
That name sounds
It's
familiar.
like HTRK. Their music is so good. Highly recommend. He directs a lot of their videos, and he has a lot of expertise with the Steadicam. So he and I toured this black box theater in the East Village, and I just like mapped out where certain elements of the song would take place corresponding
Right.
with what each person was doing. And we shot it. We did, I think, 4 or 5 times through, and that was it. So it was
Wow. Not as
only
many times as I thought you might have had to do it.
no, no. And then we chose the one where the champagne bottle pops everywhere because that was the most exciting. Because everything was good, but we just wanted that moment of spontaneity to kind of exist in it.
Yeah. No, that's a great choice. It's funny how little things like that you can't exactly plan. You can just hope that they happen the right way. When they do happen, it's just like such a great feeling.
Totally.
What would be some advice that you'd have for artists that are trying to make their own music videos or do their own visuals, but maybe they haven't started yet?
Um, I would say start small and don't think about money because I feel like I always get bogged down thinking like, oh, I don't have enough money to do this. I don't um it's not going to be good if DIY, but I mean, there's so much good DIY stuff out now, especially now that everyone has spent so much time indoors. Um I think that the aesthetic has shifted, like the universal aesthetic has shifted into something that's much more homemade. Um, so I think that's exciting for people that are just starting to make their own visuals and represent themselves somehow. I mean, yeah, it's very cliche, but just do you and do whatever makes you feel good and that will translate to an audience for
Yeah.
sure.
Obviously, big budget music videos will never go away, but
Yeah,
it
of
seems
course.
like the floodgates have been opened for people wanting to see more lo-fi, like homemade kinds of videos and
Well,
music
yeah,
too.
you see like huge major label artists trying to make videos that look like TikToks.
Right.
So it's just like, just yeah, like you be at the forefront of that. You don't need to have this machine behind you. And honestly, like it made me so much more tuned into my or plugged into myself when I just focused on learning my instruments more and just getting better
Mm-hmm.
at writing on an instrument and writing in general. So I feel like if you make because I mean it's so intoxicating to make your musical identity so much about Instagram and TikTok or whatever, and just kind of making it all visual, and you kind of lose sight of the actual music because you're just obsessed. I mean, and I'm clearly talking about myself and people that I talk to, but you just become very obsessed with validation on that visual level. And um, the moment I decided to not lose sight of the actual music and the writing process, I got better and I felt better. So I feel like to all artists that want to make music, you uh, just focus on writing it and focus on like building your own little world and your and nurturing your imagination, because that'll benefit you and it'll benefit all the people that listen to you.
Very well said. I think that's a beautiful end to the first half of this interview. And the second half is just the last five, where I'll just ask you five quick questions and we'll be done.
Okay, cool.
All right. Number one, in the studio or playing live?
Playing live.
Yeah, I was gonna guess that since you just said how much you love the last show.
Yeah,
And not to mention, a year and a half away from it, you're kind of like itching to get back there.
I know it rules.
There is such an energy on stage that you don't get from the studio, but I've always loved the studio because it feels like you can create anything right now. You have no idea what's going to happen. Like the potential energy is crazy.
No, absolutely. It's just yeah, with live stuff, having a captive audience that you can't or not captive audience, and you can't guarantee what their reaction's going to be. That's the most challenging thing about uh music, I think. Just figuring out your own self, or how to measure your own self-worth, and uh playing anyway and playing the best show you can, even to two people, you know.
Hmm. Question number two is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
Oh wow.
We did mention
Gosh.
Halcyon Digest
We did,
earlier.
but I don't want to say that. I want to say something else. Let me think.
You can say multiple too. You don't have to say just one.
Okay. Mm, Blonde Redhead 23 is one of my favorite records.
Okay. I know that
Um,
name, Blonde Redhead.
Blonde Redhead. Um, Madonna, Ray of Light.
I haven't listened to a lot of
Mm,
Madonna, honestly, other than the
Check
hits.
her out. Check her out.
She's worth the hype.
She's worth the hype. Um, uh, Honestly, B-52's Cosmic Thing, amazing record. Um, let's just say Deer Hunter, Halcyon Digest, because we were talking about it. Um, and Outcast, Stankonia,
There we
honestly.
go. Atlanta represent.
There you go.
That's
And there are
definitely,
probably more. I mean, there are definitely more that I can't think of right now, but
yeah, it's one of those questions when like you don't think about it until later and you're like, ah, I should have said that.
I know. It's okay though.
Yeah, we got a good 4 or 5 out of you. That's pretty good. Question
Definitely.
number 3 is, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
Let's see. Well, this is as of late. This producer, Guy Sigsworth, he's British. I only just discovered who he was, and he produced a ton of Bjork stuff, a ton of
Mm.
he basically launched Frou Frou, like Imogen Heap,
Oh,
and
okay, I know
then
her.
Robin, he did a lot of Robin stuff, and Madonna too, and among other people. And he has this kind of signature, like computer glitching out, but highly melodic um tunes that he's just is somehow a part of and engineering, and I would love to work with him.
Yeah, that sounds
Guy,
really
I,
interesting.
I am his guy.
What's his name?
Guy Sigsworth.
Guy Sigsworth.
He's
Okay,
kind of a
cool.
legend. Yeah, look him
Definitely.
up.
I mean, working with Madonna, like, and Bjork. Come on.
Exactly. Oh, and Britney. And Britney.
Britney Spears, really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sick. He's all over the place.
He's all over the place.
Somebody I thought of really just because I saw you had one of their songs on one of your playlists was Spirit of the Beehive.
Oh,
Or,
yeah, they're great. They're
yeah,
so good.
one of my favorite bands for sure. And Zach's side project, Drag Me, if you haven't listened to that.
I haven't listened to that. I'll check it out.
Definitely check it out. It's like Spirit of the Beehive is probably more rock band-y. Like, it feels like a rock band. And Drag Me
Totally.
feels like him being like more of a producer, getting really experimental with beats and things like that. But it is so sick. That album I listened to constantly last year. And
I'm gonna check it out.
yeah, the new album that they have, not Servers Immersed, Entertainment Death. That album feels like it was inspired by his side project. Like, he did the side project and then they made that album, and it kind of feels like a really cool blend of those worlds.
Cool. I'll check it out. That's awesome.
There you go. Question number 4 is, what's on your musical rotation right now?
Let me check. I'm on my computer, so
Yeah, you can pull up that
I
Spotify.
I can pull it up. Let's see. What am I listening to? Da, da, da. Another perfect record is that Tirza record.
Don't know it.
She's a wonderful. She's gonna put out a new record called Gladly. Or no, that's one of the songs from her old record. I'm spacing out. She has 3 singles out right now that I've been constantly listening to. One of them in particular is this song Tectonic. But yeah,
What's her name?
Tirzah.
Okay.
She rules. I'm also my friend Macy Rodman. I'm drinking out of her mug.
Very cool.
She has new music out, and she's putting out new music, and she's awesome. But yeah, I listen to so much shit. I'm listening to a lot of Yellow Magic Orchestra right now too.
That's like the old Japanese band. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I've never really given them a listen, but I've heard that name plenty of times.
You absolutely must treat yourself.
Okay, I will. So, question number 5, last one here. It is, what is your favorite decade of music?
I'm gonna say the 80s. Just
80s. Okay. Yeah. I mean, your stuff has kind of an 80s feel to me.
I'm gonna say the 80s because yeah, there's just like the pop sensibilities and the melodies and the I don't know, the performance quality. It was just so exciting to me, I think. Especially among like male vocalists, I found like there was just this extra kind of liberating kind of you could be like aha, you could be singing like super high, like just doing your shit, like for sure, or you could be like
maybe like Tears for Fears.
Yeah, like Tears for Fears. You could be like Al Green and Luther Vandross having their like 80s moments, and you could be like, I mean, there are just so many. The Cure, like I don't know, just definitely my favorite era.
Gotcha.
Stone Roses was at the end of the 80s.
That's like 89, 90s. Right?
Exactly. So that was a huge influence on my record. So I have to give them credit for it being 1989.
There you go. Yeah, true. That's funny because I've had some friends tell me to listen to Stone Roses as well, and I think I gave the album a listen once, and I only got like through the first couple of songs, but maybe I need to go back to it, try it again.
If you want.
Yeah. Well, I do like going back to albums later, and there's so many of my favorite albums. The first time I heard it, I literally just didn't really care for it. And then for some reason, like Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, I heard that and was like, I don't know, I like Jesus, etc., and that's it. And now it's like top 5 favorite albums for me. But it took years. It took years for some reason.
Yeah. I get that.
Sometimes your musical taste just like takes time to catch up.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, Liam Benzvi, that's been our time here on That Note. Thank you for joining me. And everyone needs to go check out your new single, Hypno. Watch the music video where you peel your skin off and turn into a lizard. Such a vibe. And yeah, thank you again for joining me, man. It's been really fun talking with you.
It's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh boy, you saw me breaking a sweat.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.